Welcome back to A Moment in History. I'm Seth Udinsky. In the days after the horrific attacks of September 11th, 2001, the United States was a nation shaken to its knees. Americans were understandably fearful and uncertain, especially those in the city of New York, where almost 3,000 Americans had been killed in the span of an hour and a half. But 10 days after the attacks in New York City, the city and the country got an inspiring lift from an unlikely hero in an unlikely arena. New York Mets catcher Mike Piazza, who hit a game-winning home run in the first sporting event in the city after the attacks. Let's go back to September 21st, 2001, and explore Piazza's heroic blast in the aftermath of America's darkest day. On September 21st, smoke still billowed from the wreckage that was once the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center, and rescue workers were still trying in vain to save anyone they could. Professional sports had been put on hold as the country mourned, but MLB executives agreed that it was time to continue the sport. On the night of the 21st, over 40,000 fans packed into Old Shea Stadium in Queens to gather for the first sporting event in the city since the horrific attack, as the Mets would host their division rival Atlanta Braves. There was both an ominous atmosphere as fans feared another possible attack, and at the same time a sense of somber courage. This was the country's first steps to move forward and rebuild. Now, under normal circumstances, the stakes would have been huge. A late-season clash where the Mets, who were fighting for an NL wildcard spot, looked to knock off their division-leading Braves, but none of it seemed to matter before the game. Mets and Braves players, hated division rivals in the sport, gathered at home plate before the game to show a spirit of unity, and American flags waved all throughout the ballpark. The Mets players wore hats to honor the firefighters and police officers who had risked and given their lives in the rescue mission. After an emotional pregame ceremony that included a moment of silence for the fallen, the Braves took a 2-1 lead into the 8th inning. Mets fans, waiting almost all game for something to cheer about, waited with great anticipation as Piazza, one of the best hitting catchers in baseball history, strode to the plate with a runner on base. He took a mighty hack at a fastball on the outside corner and drove it over the center field wall at Shea, sending the crowd into a delighted frenzy and giving New York a 3-2 lead. The Mets would hold on in the top of the 9th to beat the Braves. Now, baseball fans spoke often of that home run in the years that followed, how it contributed to the spirit that swept through the nation in the months following the attack. America was not going to be defeated and would rise again. Now, Piazza, who was beloved in baseball and voted into the Baseball Hall of Fame in 2016, spoke of that moment years later, saying this: "People wanted to cheer about something, and to be in the right place at the right time was an honor." Thanks so much for joining me once again for A Moment in History.